Hey guys, welcome to the live. This evening, we're going to talk about how comfort zones can ruin your life. I'm really excited about this because, for one, I know comfort zone really well. I have lived there. It has almost taken me out in the past, and just excited just to be here to chat with you guys about comfort zones. I know one of the things that really limited me as an entrepreneur, not only as an entrepreneur, but an individual, was my comfort zone. So I'm just really excited to talk about that. And I'm just going to throw you a video and then we're going to jump right into the chit chat. So if you have any questions, of course, shoot me your questions. If you have any insights, shoot me some insights. Let's make it interactive because, as I said, this is a topic that I like to talk about. It is also an area that I'm very familiar with.
What I've discovered is what makes you comfortable can ruin you, and what makes you uncomfortable creates room for you to grow. In this live session, we'll be talking about comfort zones, how to identify them, actionable steps to tackle them, and how to not let your comfort zone ruin your life.
Yes, guys, that's it. One of the things that I've identified about comfort zones is that it can ruin your life. Let me tell you. So, you'll be seeing me looking like at different screens. I'll be looking up, I'll be looking down, but all in all, I am here with you. So, I was just really inspired to talk about this topic. At the top of the year, I was just setting my goals, very huge goals. Some of them that really kind of shook me a little bit. I'm like, wow. In order for me to achieve these goals, I will need to step outside of my comfort zone, right? And then it led me to start thinking about the other people like my audience who I interact with, my friends, family who I interact with on a daily basis, who have goals, have dreams, big dreams, have vision, but because they're so fearful or they have limiting beliefs, they never achieve them because it's one thing that is limiting them, and that's the comfort zone. So, first they have the fear, then they have the limiting belief, and then they allow all of that to allow them to keep them stuck. So, I just want to touch on what really brought me to the point of realizing that I was in a comfort zone, right? So, in 2015, I was just getting my footing in the professional world. I was, I would say I was pretty good at what I was doing. At that time, I was figuring out that, hey, I was really good at this graphic designing thing, but it wasn't my main job, right? And if you watch my video, there's a video that I posted or reshared earlier in the community section, which talked about self discovery and tapping into my power, right? And realizing my potential. In 2015, a young professional, fresh out of university, or probably a few years out of university by then, I found myself stuck to the point of I was just so frustrated with myself. And it brought me to a point where I was like, I had to check in with myself and identify, why was I feeling this way? I was looking for the answers from friends. I was looking for the answers from my family, not realizing that I needed to provide that answer for myself in terms of why I was stuck. And what I realized was that I had goals, I had desires, but I wasn't moving towards them because I had this fear, this cloud of fear over me, and I had limiting beliefs around me. And to some extent, I was waiting for some amount of external validation, right? And because of all of that, I felt stuck. I was stagnant, and I just wasn't growing. I was frustrated with myself, And I had to take a step back, and it made me reach close to my birthday because normally around my birthday time, I get very reflective and I'm like, oh my gosh, I turn in this age, what's going on with my life, what's really going on. And I got very reflective because typically a very self reflective individual. I got very reflective and I started checking in and I realized, yeah, it was a fear. It was it was having the desire to do something, but not doing it because I was fearful. And so I said to myself, I made a bet to myself that I am going to do what I need to do in order to achieve this goal. Right. And at the time, I was running a women platform, a community blog platform called For Women to Women, which I'm actually relaunching this year. Excited about that. You can check the description on that. And I was just behind the scenes. I always call myself the behind the scenes kind of girl. Was behind the scenes doing the blogging, doing the posting on social media, and that was really comfortable for me. It didn't require me for me to show my face. I didn't have to talk. I could just share my perspectives behind the screen. But eventually, I was just so comfortable to the point that I realized, listen, man, I have to do something about it. Anyways, I decided that the goal then was to start hosting events. No, listen, the person I was in 2015 or beyond and before 2015, I don't want to have any interaction with a large group of people or people I didn't know really well, right? Much less to host events. Anyway, I made that bet and I said I'm going to host the event. I sent out the message, I made a decision, sent out the message, hey guys, we're going to host this event. We're inviting this amount of persons to the event. So I made it a little comfortable for myself, but it was still a step outside of my comfort zone. I hosted 10 women at a small, intimate event. And through that event, just stepping into the room for that event shifted so many things inside of me. One, it made me realize that the minute we step outside of our comfort zone, it opened the doors to so many opportunities. It also made me realize that persons were waiting on me to step outside of my comfort zone so that they could gain something to help them to grow. Right. So, like I said, I was blogging, I was posting on social media, I was interacting with my audience, but they wanted more from me. I wanted more from myself. And the minute I decided to say, hey, I'm going to bet on myself, I'm going to do this thing despite how scared I feel or despite how fearful I feel, it opened an opportunity for me. And I hosted that first event. And after that first event I hosted, I went on to host another event. So I hosted the first event in Jamaica. And then I was traveling to New York like in a few weeks or so after, and I hosted another event. Again, I tell you, making one step can open the door to many other things. And I hosted another event in New York. So that was two events within a space of a month, all because I said yes to myself in that short space of time. And at the end of the year, I hosted another event. So what happened then? One, I realized my limiting belief, and that limiting belief was that I'm not good enough, or maybe I wasn't confident enough to do the work I wanted to do. And you might be like, whoa, why would you think such a thing? And sometimes when we have limiting beliefs, we need to challenge them. We need to identify where that limiting belief is coming from. Is it from childhood? What is it? Because for me, as a child, I've always been reserved, still a bit reserved. But what I've found is that when you have goals, when you have big goals, you can't allow what someone said to you as a child and you can't allow what someone said to you as a child to hold you back. You can't hold on to it because guess what? Again, it leaves you limited. And so I identified that goal. I identified that limiting belief. I challenged it despite how fearful I said or scared I was. I stepped forth and tackled it. So these are just some of my, this is one of my discovery in terms of comfort zone. What I realized then when I was in my comfort zone, I was ruining my life because I was not growing. I started to get very frustrated. I started to feel very stressed out. I started to bleed on other persons, my friends, my family, and they didn't deserve it. And I didn't deserve it either. But yet, still, because I was so fearful, I allowed that cloud to be over me, that stagnation to be over me. And it started to bleed out in the wrong places. But let's talk about comfort zones a little bit more in terms of what it is. And all it is really is it's a safety net. Yeah, like it says, comfort zone. Think about a mother cuddling her child. The child is feels the fact the child feels cozy. Of course, that child would want to leave that safe space, because the minute they leave that safe space, there are other elements that can affect them. And it's not that the other elements will hurt them. It's just that it will challenge them in a way where they now have to learn how to defend themselves or adapt to the environment, right? And so that's what comfort zone is. It is a safety net. And here's the thing, it holds us back from achieving our full potential. And guys, I just want to be a little transparent here with you. So when I was just taking the notes and writing the pointers for this live, I said to myself, hey, you're in your comfort zone same way, Carey. You know that you're in your comfort zone right now, this minute. You're still in a level of comfort zone. And the reason why I'm saying this is that I am now in a period of my life when I have tackled a lot of fears. I have moved from the introvert, the 100% introverted, to the introvert who now owns my superpower. Or I've now been more comfortable on camera and can do live video and that kind of thing, to know like hosting this live and not sweating down the place and worrying or being terrified. But what I found now is that the desires now are bigger, they're greater, the vision is grander than before, or more grand than before. And it is challenging me to step out of what I now know to go into something that I don't know, right? Chart new territories, take on new levels. And I want to give you a quick story. So if you have been watching my videos on YouTube, there's a video I posted at the top of the year where I showed some highlights of me doing a Canva training for an organization. Now, let me tell you, I've been talking about Canva. I've been doing Canva for almost 8 years, and that's all graphics. But a big part of it was for me, even though I knew graphics, even though I knew Canva, I was just not confident enough to come in front of the camera or go up on camera and share my knowledge. So instead, I would share it with a one person here, a two person here, I tell a one person there, I tell a two person there. But I was never confident enough to show up and say, listen, man, I know Canva. You need to hire me. Or I know Canva. Let me tell you about it, right? Because I was so fearful. And in 2020, within the pandemic time, I decided, you know what? I want to get over my fear of being on camera. And so I recorded my first video. The first video that I recorded, I was not showing my face. All I was doing was doing the tutorial. I just did a tutorial and that was it. And the second video I did, I wasn't doing a Canva tutorial, but I was talking about just my journey in terms of how I use social media to grow in my career. And I talk about how I blogged and I went on camera. And when I went on camera, I was sweating like crazy, right? I was nervous. I was fumbling over my words. I was just a hot mess. But it was also a point where I broke free from my comfort zone. So I decided that I wanted to do this thing. I made a decision to do it. And despite how scared or fearful I was, I still did it. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't up to standard, but I did it nonetheless. Right? So it took that one step of sharing my knowledge on Canva, first faceless, right? And then the second point of just start showing my face and getting better each time, learning how to pace myself, learning how to to show up for myself and betting on myself, and and just being consistent with it, right? It took those moments to open doors of opportunities for me. It took those steps for persons to realize, oh, so you know about Canva. We probably need to really listen to you, right? So all it took was one decision, and that decision was to bet on myself, to realize that, listen, man, I am tired of living within my comfort zone. I want more for myself, so I'm going to bet on myself. That's all it took. And for you, it's the same thing. You will have to make that decision like, hey, I am tired of living this way. I know I want more for myself. So here's what. I am scared enough, but I'm going to do it regardless, right? I'm scared enough, but I'm going to chart that unknown territory, right? So that is what one decision can do, right? And I have a saying where I say, do it scared, and do be scared and do it anyway. If you're scared, do it anyway. There's so much to learn, because your comfort zone, all it is just a barrier. And that barrier, you have to break it down by making that decision to bet on yourself, right? Just wanted to share that. Right. So just saying, in terms of starting with that 1 year, creating a YouTube video, then coming, being more consistent, sharing my knowledge, more persons knowing about me, posting on Instagram, posting on LinkedIn, led to the opportunity of someone now hiring me to do training for Canva. And then the desire, I realized, got even bigger, and bigger for me. I want more, not necessarily because not necessarily because it's like it's a thing to do, but it's a how I feel when I'm doing it. I feel alive, I feel fulfilled, right? And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to really take this on, it's going to require more from me, right? It's going to require me to learn more things, for me to show up in a different way, not really a different way, but to be more confident, to be bold, to be unapologetic, right? And to just lean into what I truly want to do. So all it takes is just 1 year. So as I said, I just being transparent to realize that I too, you know, l- is kind of currently living in a comfort zone, but because I've experienced or I've tackled it before, I have identified strategies or ways I can tackle that, right? And what I've found is that your fears never go away. That's my opinion, by the way. I don't know if you agree. If you agree, comment below if you have a different opinion. I'd love to hear. But I think your fears and comfort zones, or just tackling comfort zones, never go away, because at each level in your life you unlock a new level. In your life. So at one point you might be fearful of being on camera. At another level you might be fearful of being on stage. And then another level you might be fearful of being on a larger stage, or maybe on another level you're fearful of being on TV, or whatever it is. I'm just using examples for you as an entrepreneur based on the goals you might have in mind, right? um so yeah, at every level it will require a different version of you, and it's a version of you that you have never met, but it's a version of you that exists. And all it requires for you to meet that version of you and to tap into that full version of you is to say yes to yourself by betting on yourself and by stepping outside of your comfort zone. So yeah. All right. So how do you identify that you're in a comfort zone? Like I gave my example, you'll realize it when you start finding yourself being bored with yourself. You feel very complacent, and this can be complacent at work, complacent in your life generally. You probably just feel downright uninspired. You know there's more that you want for yourself. And the thing that you used to light up about or want to do, you no longer have that great interest anymore. So those are little indicators that, hey, there's some amount of comfort zone, because you have to identify, why am I feeling this way? Always challenge yourself to think about, why am I feeling this way? Be okay with tapping into yourself and identify why you feel a particular way. Spend time doing it, because you won't always get the answer like in one instant. So keep tapping into yourself, keep challenging yourself to discover yourself, and you will find the answer, right? So I have been there, so I know what that feels like. I've been there where I felt complacent, or I've been complacent. I've been at that place where I'm frustrated with myself. I've been at that place where I feel stuck. I've been at that place where I'm just uninspired. But I have not allowed those barriers to limit me, right? despite how long it might take, I've not allowed those barriers to limit me, right? So it's time for us to shake up the comfort zone, right? It's time to shake up those comfort zones because one of the things that live in our comfort zone is that thing called fear. And I talk about it a little before fear. So as you've seen my intro video or the video that I showed earlier in a snippet, a lot of those videos showed moments where I was either on camera, on stage, presenting, you know, and in all those moments, well, not all, but majority of those moments, I was scared. The moment when I decided to host my first event, I was a little terrified. The moment I hosted the largest event I've ever hosted, I was a little scared. The moment I traveled to India to speak on that big stage, I was scared. The moment I got selected for what I'd call it, oh my gosh, why is this blowing my mind? The moment I got selected for the Jamaica Digital Jamaica honoree for business, I was scared. Strangely, I was scared. Not scared, but a little nervous, like, you know. I was scared. The moment I was pitching my business to a group of, a panel, I was scared, right? What am I saying? You won't always be ready or feel like you're ready, but the truth is you are ready because you're equipped. But all you have to do when you feel these things is to prepare, because what I found for me is preparation helps me a lot. Knowing what I want helps me a lot. Knowing the why drives me as well, right? So one of the things that I find that I tend to be a little, I wouldn't say terrified, but I haven't gotten the most confident or comfortable with yet is live videos. And because I'm not the most comfortable with it, I still do them. I challenge myself to do them, you know. I challenge myself to do them. I try my best to show up. I try my best to understand how best to navigate it. I try to just keep doing them more so that I can get more confidence and become better with it. Right. So even I'm doing this video, I'm like, oh, oh, inside, in the initial start when I just started, but no, I feel more comfortable because guess what? And learning that hey, it's just like I'm talking to you. So it's have a lot to do with just your mindset and your beliefs and just reframing it in order to achieve what you really want to achieve. Okay. So like we spoke a little bit about my personal transformation in terms of how I was before and what I have done to reach this point where I'm more comfortable on camera, to reach a point where probably I should talk about public speaking, right? I should talk about that. That's a good transformation, I would say. Yeah. So the on camera one, that's a really huge transformation. I think I will link the video to about how to be confident on camera or how to get over your fear of putting yourself out there. And I'm going to do a video on how to be more confident on camera. Probably not live, but just on camera in general, just recording yourself and putting yourself out there. So if you want that, just comment below. All right. So let me talk a little bit about my personal transformation in terms of public speaking. No, I wouldn't call myself a public speaker, but based on the roles that I've undertaken, I've been required to do public speaking. So one of the first times I remember doing public, first of all, when I was in high school, I did not like to do presentations in front of a class. I would design that presentation, I would put it together beautifully, but do not ask me to go in front of the class. I did not like it. But over time, and because it's school, you're going to get graded, you do it. Anyway, the first time I remember doing what would I say, public speaking was when, same with for Women to Win, a colleague at the time invited me to speak at her event. And for me, the reason why I said yes was because I wanted awareness for my brand. Listen, guys, all it can take, is just that why. You just want to have that why, and you will be amazed at the things you do and the barriers you will step out of. Exact right? Anyways, I just wanted to promote my brand. And I said yes. And I was talking and I was so nervous. If I share those photos with you, you would be you'd be like, really, Carey? Yeah, right? I was just so terrified. Yet still, I did it. Wasn't the best in my opinion, but it garnered conversations, it garnered insights, that kind of thing. The other time I was required to do public speaking was when I started getting more active in my brand for women to women. And like I said, I just had to show up. I had to show up and be confident in it. But the one that really shifted me was when I got invited to speak in India. No, I said yes to that opportunity because one, I'm going to India, and two, I get an opportunity to promote my business, to promote my brand, and to challenge myself. So I said yes. When I said yes, I was just going to all of these events. It was just really good for me to go as listening to different speakers who would call themselves international speakers and certified this and certified that. Listen, all I had, guys, was just my experience that I probably was in a little way was downplaying, but also realized that it was my power. Anyways, went to the event. When it was my time to speak, or the night when I supposed, or the night before I was supposed to speak, I realized I was so nervous. Listen, nerves would have killed me. Nerves would have killed me. I was in my hotel room and I had to come out of my hotel room and go downstairs to practice. Like literally, I went downstairs in the hotel lobby and started practicing my speech or my talk. That video, I'll link that video below, the actual video where I did a speech. But before that moment, I was just in the lobby. I was practicing, practicing, practicing. I was fumbling over my words. I was fumbling over my words. And the more I fumbled, the more I practiced. The more I fumbled, the more I practiced until I got really comfortable and confident. But what shifted it for me was when I said to myself, you know what? The room where I'm going to speak, I'm going to go in that room. I'm going to go on that stage and I'm going to practice this speech on the stage. That's the night before. So mind you, at about after 12, thereabouts, I went into the room where I do the speech, went on the stage and started practicing. I stood behind the podium. I moved. I didn't even move around a bit, a lot, but I was just standing there practicing my speech. Trust me, the day of the event went, I was still nervous. But when I went on that stage, it felt familiar, right? And so I created my familiar by already being there, knowing what the stage feel like, knowing what it looks like from the stage. The only difference now is that people were there. And if you watch that video, you'd realize I was a bit nervous still. And as I went through the speech, I got more comfortable. So guys, you know, after that, I realized I started doing more speaking, more speaking. So now, if someone invites me to speak, of course I'm going to say yes, right? So if you want to invite me to speak about even my journey, comfort zones, anything at all, hit me up, right? Check the link in the description and just hit me up, send me an email. But I'm just sharing these stories just to let you know that you have to just keep challenging yourself, keep betting on yourself, keep saying yes to yourself, and you can tackle those comfort zones, right? So if you're playing it safe in life, in business, at work, identify where you're playing it safe. What is really holding you back? Is it what others have said to you? Is it the lies you have told yourself? Is it just your own lack of confidence, or like I said, the fears? And fears are really, they're not true. They're not true, right? Right? They appear to be real, but they're not true. So that's why I said you have to challenge them. You have to spend time and challenge them. If it's a case where you feel like you're not knowledgeable enough, spend time working on that, right? Is if it's like a public speaking and you realize, oh, I'm not quite ready for public speaking, start practicing, start reading up about public speaking. That's something I did a lot of too, right? So identify what is really holding you back. Spend time, do the homework, and you will be amazed at what you can do when you spend the time to invest in yourself and to shift that overall. So the title says, how is fear ruining your life? Fear is ruining your life if you're not saying yes to yourself, if you're not betting on yourself, if you're currently frustrated, uninspired, complacent, and still living in there and being frustrated yourself, that's how you're ruining your life. Because here's what, when you stay in that bubble of everything, what you're doing is cutting off opportunities for growth. You're cutting off your opportunity to learn more, and you're cutting off the opportunity for you to connect with others and to reach your full potential. So for every time I've said yes to myself, I've learned something new. In terms of public speaking, I now know how to just identify that one person in the room, lock eyes with them, and if I have to just keep my eyes on them for the entire time, yeah. So you learn new things. And what have I learned? As you can see here, I have a YouTube channel now. And like I said, I was a self acclaimed behind the scenes girl who just preferred to be behind the scenes. I would help everybody do what they have to do. I'll design the graphics, I'll create that blog post, I'll do what I have to do. But you're not going to see my face. I'm not going to go center stage because I was so fearful, right? And I said, listen, I'm tired of this mediocre life because there's more for me. There's a bigger purpose on my life. And you watch my videos, that's something I talk about a lot. There's a bigger purpose on my life. And me not allow my comfort zone to limit me. So, I'm just really led, as I said, to just share a bit about comfort zones, how it can ruin your life, how I have transformed, yeah, based on limiting my what do I say, challenging my limiting beliefs, challenging my fears, and just working on myself. So I'd love to hear from you. Are you currently living in your comfort zone? What is one thing that is holding you back? And what do you need to do to push you forward? I'd love to hear, right? And remember, only if no one is holding you accountable, you have to ensure you hold yourself accountable. All right. So let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And I'm going to close out this video. I have to with this final video or replay of the video.
What I've discovered is what makes you comfortable can ruin you, and what makes you uncomfortable creates room for you to grow. In this live session, we'll be talking about comfort zones, how to identify